Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is dustinkreis, and today I have another game discussion for you. And today we're going to be talking about this game right here, Nier. And I have to say that this is one of the big sort of undiscovered games out there. I think it's a cult hit, but in all honesty, this should have been a much bigger game for Square Enix. It's definitely one of the most original games out there, and one of the best experiences that I've had. Well, I wouldn't say one of the best, but definitely one of the top experiences I've had this console generation. You know, it's a action RPG. Very much in the style of God of War. Like, that was the game that really pops into my mind when I was playing this. I was like, man, gosh, this really feels like God of War, you know? And so if you take God of War and you throw in RPG elements and things like that, you basically have Nier. And it is one of the great games out there, and definitely overlooked. The storyline... the storyline is kind of a mindfuck in the beginning, because you start out as this father figure to this young girl named Yuna, and you're in sort of a modern, desolate city, and you're trying to, you know, help her through the winter. You guys are surviving, you know, it's post-apocalyptic, and all of a sudden you guys start getting attacked by these yellowish, digitized-looking creatures called shades. And you have to fight them off with only a lead pipe. And this is, of course, the prologue of the game, so I'm not really ruining anything for you here. But after this prologue sequence, after you fight off the shades, it basically does a Kubrick-esque jump cut kind of thing, like a 2001 thing, to this fantastic fantasy world where you're basically playing the same character, who you get to name. That's the reason why I haven't named his name. His official name is Nier. That's the name of the game. But you can change the name once you start the game. I changed it to my own name, so my character is named Dustin. But you know, you are your main character and the daughter in this sort of fantastic fantasy setting where you're fighting off shades once again fighting off shades. And the entire time you're playing this, you're like, what is this about? Where is this going? What is this doing? And I'm not going to spoil the story for you, because the storyline is pretty awesome. It's definitely one of my favorite game worlds, and the entire storyline, once you get to the end of it, and you see like what all is actually happening, it's definitely one of my favorite concepts in video gaming. When you get to the end of it and you see the end and you see what's going on and you understand what's happening in this world, you understand that it's kind of not a really original idea if you watch and read a lot of science fiction and things like that. But definitely one of the best twist endings to kind of see. I don't want to talk about too much because I don't want to ruin it. And anybody, you know, any of my subscribers or anybody out there who watches the video who wants to discuss what happens in the world of Nier, please personal message me instead of making a comment. I'd like you to make a comment anyway, saying, "Oh yeah, it's a great game." But if you want to talk about the specifics of the ending and what actually is going on in this world, please personal message me, so no one reads it down there and spoils it, because I really don't want anyone to be spoiled on this storyline, because it is great. I've only beat the game once, and there's a lot of New Game Plus type stuff in this game where you can go back, and once you beat the game the first time, you can go back and get an ending B, which will give you more of Kaine's story, which I'll talk about Kaine in a minute. You can't talk about this game without talking about Kaine for a few minutes. And then there's also an ending C and an ending D. So once you beat ending A and B, if you want to go for C and D, definitely get a guide out to help you along with that, because if you get ending D before you get ending C, it'll erase your save file. So if you want to get all 4 endings, make sure you have a guide so you don't accidentally get ending D before you get C. So there's tip 1 for this game. I actually have a couple tips for this game. Hopefully I can remember them by the time I get to them. But, yeah, here we go. So, let's talk about the characters a little bit, okay? And in a lot of ways, this game kind of reminds me of Secret of Mana. And if anybody out there is wondering, well, what the fuck are you talking about? It reminds me of Secret of Mana in that you have a male character who uses a sword primarily. You have a female character who, when you get the girl in Secret of Mana, she has the knuckles, so she's a fighter. And Kaine is very much of a fighter. And then you have Emil, who represents the sprite. So, in a lot of ways, I mean, I don't know if that's what the game developers were setting out to do. I doubt it. But while I was playing the game, it really feels like an updated Secret of Mana in some respects, because you have the main character and then the other 2 characters are controlled by AI. But let's talk about the characters for a little bit. Why not? The main character of Nier, we'll just call him Nier for all intents and purposes. He's out, of course, to save his daughter from this disease called the Black Scrawl. And he's very much your typical sort of RPG hero. He, very brave, and he'll do anything he can do to save his daughter. So, kind of a very typical RPG character. He's very verbose, and all the characters interact with each other. During one of the quests, you come across a floating book, which is kind of one of the interesting things about the game, called Grimoire Vice. And you'll find out later what Grimoire Vice really is. But, for all intents and purposes, he's just a book. He speaks in a very high manner of speaking, very proper English and stuff like that. He has a voice that, would go along with that kind of a thing. And then you have Kaine, who I almost think that Kaine is like a critique on women in JRPGs. Like, either that or it's just like every JRPG player's like fantasy. Big-breasted, scantily clad, and the camera angles seem to always find her ass crack, because, I mean, she is basically next to nothing. I mean, she has clothes on and she's covered, and the game is M. So anyone out there who's letting their kids play this, it's M, because partial nudity, and that's mainly because of her. Because even though she has clothes on, those clothes leave nothing to the imagination. So I almost think that she is like a critique on the way JRPG characters are portrayed in games, because we always have these really beautiful women, very scantily clad, but she is so scantily clad that if she is not like a critique on that thing and kind of like a subtle satire of it, if they did it in earnest, then I'm like, whoa. Like, some guy that's really horny definitely designed her. But let's not hang out on Kaine very much. Although it is funny that she's really pretty, she's very scantily clad, and she has the mouth of a sailor. Any game that when you start it up berates you with a stream of curses instantly gets an interest in my book. That it definitely has one of the most interesting things. You boot it up and you're getting ready for the title screen, and it's just Kaine screaming at Grimoire Vice and using all these horrible, horrible, horrible words that I love to use. So, and then finally you have Emil, who, in a lot of ways, I feel he is the most underdeveloped character out of the 3. He has a really cool story, and once you figure out what he actually is, it is kind of an interesting thing. So, but one of the favorite things character-wise in this game is the interaction between Kaine and Grimoire Vice, because Grimoire Vice kind of sums her up like instantly when he sees her. He looks at her, he judges a book by its cover, ha ha ha, because he's a book, and starts calling Kaine a hussy. And 1, I love the word hussy. I think it's a fantastic word. And 2, it's really awesome to play this game and see the storyline and see how Grimoire Vice's usage of the word hussy and talking about Kaine goes from derogatory to endearing, where he's using it as in an endearing fashion. And it reminds me a lot of like McCoy and Spock in Star Trek. They kind of had the same interactions. You know, McCoy would always call Spock these sort of horrible racist things, but he always meant it in kind of an endearing fashion. You know what I mean? And I really like that these two characters form such a bond that Grimoire Weiss can call her hussy, and it's meant as a term of endearment. So definitely look for that. Watch their interactions together as you move through the game. Let's see. I think that's all I want to talk about the storyline, because I really don't want to ruin it for you guys. It's really a really awesome storyline. In the gameplay aspects, this is where I have some issues with this game. Namely the jumping with Nier. For the most part, the game is very easy to control, very easy to get into, but whenever you have to do some platforming, be prepared to have some frustrations, because you know, just running along and hitting the jump button. I don't know why JRPGs have such a problem with jumps. Why can't these companies just hire like people that develop platforming games to come in and do their jumping physics for them? Because this guy jumps like a tank. He either jumps straight up or he jumps, you know, way out where you don't want him to be. So my advice to you is, when you get this game and you're starting to play it, definitely get the idea of the jumping down, because it is a bit different than what you would think. It's a matter of getting the timing down and everything like that. But gameplay wise, for the most part, if you've played God of War, you'll know what to expect from this game. I read that the developers really kind of wanted to use God of War as a spring-off point to you know, make this action RPG, and it really shows. It shows in the gameplay, but it also shows in kind of the aesthetic with all the blood and things like that. There's a lot of blood in this game, so if that turns you off, sorry. Let's see, what else? The actual storyline of the game can be completed very quickly if you know where to go and what to do. A big part of this game is beating side quests. And I know a lot of people out there have problems with like side quests, fetch quests, things like that. There are 100 side quests to complete. I completed 99 of them by the end of the game, and we'll talk about the reason why I didn't complete that other one. And I'll give you a little tip on that here in a minute. But if you don't like side quests and fetch quests, you are unfortunately going to miss a big portion of this game, and kind of a lot of world. You're going to miss a lot of the details of the world. You know, the storyline can be beat pretty quick, but if you don't do these side quests, you're going to miss a lot of character interactions with some of the NPCs, a lot of character interactions between you and your party, and you'll kind of get an incomplete idea of the world. So I would definitely, if you're going to play this, I would definitely say throw your illusions aside of fetch quests, because you're definitely going to have to beat all the quests to kind of get the complete idea of the story. And then you're going to have to beat the multiple endings to see the complete story. But luckily, the quests that you complete carry over, so you don't have to do those quests again. Speaking of the quests, the game is basically divided into two parts. There's a part 1 and a part 2. You will beat 51% of the side quests by the end of part 1, and I would highly recommend you to do that, because you can't go back. Once you beat part 1, that part is, you can't get to it anymore. You have to start a completely new game from the beginning in order to do that. So at the very least, make sure, you know, get a guide. I will put a link to just the side quests. There's a list of the side quests and what you need to do to complete them. I'll put a link of that down below. It doesn't give you any story spoilers or anything, so don't worry about that. But I definitely want you guys to know that if you beat part 1, without finishing all the quests, you cannot go back. So at the very least, beat that 51%, because the game starts over with the New Game Plus at the beginning of, well, a little bit past the beginning of Part 2. So you can beat all of Part 2's quests. You know, those carry over, and you can still beat them when you get back into a New Game Plus. But Part 1s are gone once you beat Part 1. So definitely beat those. As far as the quests go in Part 2, they're all, I mean, all the quests are pretty easy, save for one. There's one quest that really drove me up the wall, and here's another tip for you guys. When you guys get the quest, Life in the Sands, start it immediately. Figure out what you have to do for it and start it immediately, because it uses the in-game clock to, basically you have to plant flowers and make hybrid flowers and get seeds in order to sell the seeds to a shop. And it uses the in-game clock to determine how these flowers grow. So it's about 3 days for the flowers to grow and die so you can harvest the seeds. So you can mess around with the in-game, the console's clock a little bit, but it won't get you the full way to being able to harvest the seeds. So definitely allow yourself a lot of time. Unfortunately for me, I waited until basically I got to the end of the game to finish all the side quests. And that quest, if I would have waited, this video would not have been made until like Friday, because in order to make all those plants and seeds, it would have taken a long time. And I was like, screw it, I want to beat this. Mass Effect 3 is coming out. I need to get going here. So I will beat that quest when I go back to do a New Game Plus. But when you get the quest Life in the Sands, start it immediately, because it takes a while to finish. But every other quest is pretty simple. It's basically take an item here, you know, talk to this person, kill these shades, that kind of stuff. The game tracks how many weapons you collected. I did collect 100% of the weapons in the first playthrough. So there's also a list out. You can find various lists out there just searching of where to find the swords and things like that. A lot of weapons in there, but really, I only used one weapon through the entire game. Once you get the sword Faith, it's a one-handed sword. Once you get it fully upgraded to level 4, you really don't need to even bother with the other weapons. Once I got that and started upgrading it, I didn't touch any of the other weapons. So maybe that's something I'll do in or my second playthrough, is I'll mess around with some of the other weapons. Let's see, anything else on gameplay I want to talk about? I really love, you know, it's a small world that you run around in, but it's very refreshing that you're allowed to explore it, you know, at your own leisure. I don't want to. It's not really open world. Part 2 kind of feels open world because you can go anywhere and kind of tackle the quests. I think in any manner you want to, but it's refreshing to have a sort of very big world. It won't feel that way, but once you start running around it, you're like, oh crap. There's no quick travel like there is in Skyrim. So once you're in Seafront, you're like, oh crap, I gotta travel to the Forest of Myth. I mean, it's kind of a long trek. Not super long in that it's going to annoy you, but at the same time, just enough to kind of be like, oh, gotta go all that way. But it never gets in the way of gameplay. Let's see. What's it? Graphics. Let's go ahead and talk about the graphics, because I want to spend some time on the music. The graphics, this game kind of gets punched for not having the most spectacular graphics. I'm not a graphics whore. I found the graphics to be very enjoyable, if a little stiff. But then again, this was 2008 when this first came out. It says 2010 on the back of here, but I think the Japanese version came out. No. All this came out at the same time. This is 2010, so this is only 2 years old. But even then, the graphics were kind of, you know, smacked as not being the greatest things ever. It still looks really fantastic, and I have no problems with the graphics. Really. Sometimes the dungeons you go through are a little big and maybe under-detailed a little bit, perhaps. But the character but you know, that's not a big thing. The character models, they kind of suffer from that little bit of a, you know, the 3D graphical engine waxiness that I always complain about. I mean, it happens in every game. Really, the only games that are in 3D that I really love are like earlier, like PS2 games, or like cell shaded graphics in, you know, these modern days, because a lot of the times when it's 3D rendered and the character models just look like wax dolls to me, and it's kind of annoying, but at the same time, I mean, that's just the way the graphics are. That's just the way the graphics are these days. You know, we're not going to get like sprite-based games anymore, and you know, like a game like Tales of the Abyss, the character models don't look waxy and, you know, awful. But the characters in Nier, they just kind of have this wax doll appearance to their face, and I mean, it's nothing too annoying. It's not going to ruin the game for you. It's just a nitpicky thing that you know, I deal with. But definitely, you know, definitely good graphics. I don't know why this got slammed so much, because I really enjoyed the graphics, and maybe it's just, you know, graphic horror nitpicking crap that, you know, people are throwing at this. The music is phenomenal. One of the best, and I mean, I brought it up in my 10 soundtracks that you shouldn't miss video that I did probably a few days ago. Make these videos so quick. And I really want this soundtrack, but it's $50 to $80 online. And while that'd be money well spent, it's just, God, you're paying $80 for 2 discs, you know what I mean? But when you put this game in, I know for me personally, I can't remember who told me, and I feel really bad about that. I'm sorry, I should have looked that up beforehand. But someone on my channel told me, like, once you get to the fountain in town, I would just stop playing and just stand there and listen to the music. And once again, whoever said that to me, I apologize. But once I got to that fountain, I did the same thing. It's just, the music is so great, and you know, I know Mr. RPG Crazy just did a video for Final Fantasy 13-2 where he talked about how he didn't like vocals in games. I'm telling you, dude, this might be the game that changes your mind on that, because 1, Emmy Evans' vocals are just drop-dead gorgeous. 2, they're not like J-poppy type songs. They're like songs that you would hear in this medieval, sort of pseudo-medieval world, you know. And they just fit the game so well, and they're almost another character unto itself, the music in this game. And, you know, I illegally downloaded the soundtrack because I just couldn't pay $80 for it, but I wanted to listen to it in the car to see, you know, just how great it was. And it is really great, and god damn it, I'm really thinking about buying it and dropping $80 on it. But, you know, just listening to my car, it's so fantastic and great, but at the same time, it just feels like there's something missing. And what's really missing is the world of the game itself. Like, it's just such a part of that world that when you remove the world from it, it kind of almost loses something a little bit. But definitely just drop-dead, fantastic music. And it's really gotten me into Emmy Evans and her group, or band, or whatever they want to call themselves, Farscape, or Freescape, not Farscape. Farscape's a fantastic TV show. Go watch it. Freescape. So I put links to their stuff, to Emmy Evans, on my soundtrack video. So go check out my channel and go find that video, see me talk about some soundtracks, and go check out Emmy Evans. E-M-I-E-V-A-N-S. That's her name. So just gorgeous music, and a lot of times it really did make me kind of choke up a little bit, especially with what was going on in the game. So that's pretty much all I want to talk about with Nier, as far as I can remember. Of course, as soon as I turn this camera off, I'm going to be like, oh shit, I should have talked about that, but whatever. You know, playing this game, it's definitely one of the unsung games of this generation. It came out, it was ignored, it dropped in price super fast, and I think it found a sort of cult audience. And the people who've played this game, I really do think that they love it. And especially a lot of the people that I've talked to about this game, they just seem to have such a passion for it, and they're like, oh man, you're getting ready for a great experience. And I'm telling you guys this, if you open your mind and open your heart to this game, you will fall in love with this game. So much so that I'm actually thinking about importing the PS3 copy, the Japanese PS3 copy. Because in Japan, an interesting thing, this game, the 360 version and the PS3 version were actually different. In Japan, this was referred to as Nier Gestalt, which that'll make sense once you play through the game and you understand what Gestalt and Replicant are. And the PS3 was called Nier Replicant. Basically the same exact storyline and same world and everything. It's just instead of having a father and a daughter in the 360 version, in the PS3 version, you have brother and sister. And it's an interesting thing to talk about because it's kind of a cultural thing. The makers of the game thought that Western audiences, developing this for the 360, primarily Western people are going to be playing it because the 360 is not a big seller in Japan. They figured that you and I, well, I shouldn't say you and I, us people in the Western world would become more attached to a father-daughter storyline, whereas in Japan they would want a younger protagonist, so they made them brother and sister. So the Japanese version, people would form more of a bond with that game. So that's kind of the reason for the different versions. But I really do want to import a PS3 Nier Replicant. If they weren't $80 to $90 to import those, I would definitely do it. Hopefully the price will drop as time goes on. But I definitely want to import it, and because the PS3 is region free, so why not? And just see what's going on with that. But Nier, guys, Nier. Definitely one of the great games this generation, one of the most overlooked games this generation. I love these hidden gems that you find, like this and Enslaved. Actually, I forgot to talk about this. This game reminds me of a lot of Enslaved, and it's the aesthetic of the world. You start out the game in the prologue, and it's still, you're in the city, tall buildings around you, but everything's destroyed. And then it goes to this very pastoral, very green, lush world where only like pieces and remnants of the past world exist. So I'm telling you guys, if you have Nier, play it and get ready for a fantastic story. If you don't have Nier, this thing is dirt cheap now. There's no reason not to buy this and experience it. And my pickups video that I just did, I talked about The Last Remnant and Infinite Undiscovery, which were two RPGs that I was waiting on to get really cheap because I heard bad things about. I still, some people have told me some, mixed things about them, and I'm still really looking forward to playing them, but I'm telling you guys, this, if I knew how good this game was back when it first came out, I would have paid full price for it. Bottom line, I would pay full price for this game, $60, no problem. So the mere fact that it's $15 now, at least, or at most $15, there should be no reason why you guys don't pick up this game. It is fantastic. I love it. You will love it. Everyone will love it. It's just a great game. So that is my discussion on Nier. Next up, of course, I'm going to be finishing up Tales of the Abyss and Tactics Ogre when I get to it. And as we all know, tonight at midnight, Mass Effect 3 comes out. Now, I will not be picking it up at midnight because I have to be at work tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning. So, to get to work, I have to wake up at 4:30. So, I don't really see myself going out and picking it up tonight, but I will definitely be picking it up tomorrow when I get off work. And that'll be the next game, console-wise, that I play. But I would definitely expect to see a video for Tales of the Abyss before you see a video for Mass Effect 3. So that is it for me, guys. Definitely go out and check out Nier. It's also available in America on the PS3, but that version is the same as the Gestalt version for the 360. So you're not going to be getting the replicant version on the American PS3. You're going to have to import that from Japan. Definitely go out and check it out, guys. That's all for me. thank you so much for watching this. If you're new to my channel, definitely go and check out some other things. You might find my channel to have some stuff you like to watch. And for everyone else, well, not everyone else, for everyone, even you new people, thank you so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time. Oh, for Christ's sake, turn off.